Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Studio PKH. If you would please follow me to the library, we will shortly begin screening I Am Doing Radio, episode number 3. Thank you.
Hey, what's up? It is Dave. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification bell so that you'll always know when I am dropping new content. So this is something new on the channel. I am actually doing my first short story. I'm going to break this up into multiple parts because I think that it deserves that kind of treatment. It's from a local author here in London by the name of Rowan Gladish, and it is a very, very cool story entitled, I Always Loved the Rain. I've given it an initial pass through. I think I know how I want to treat it from a tone perspective, from a character perspective, although there's not much direct character dialogue. It's more narration. And I may add some environmentals to this. I may add sound effects, and you'll see why later on. So, here we go. Hope you enjoy. I Always Loved the Rain by Rowan Gladish. Narration by Dave DeVoe. Part 1. I woke up in the early hours of the morning, far too early for the sun. The rain was beating down, the drops hitting my window in a dull, rhythmic pattern. It was soothing. I lay there for a moment, peacefully, taking in the sound. For as long as I could remember, I loved the rain, loved splashing in it as a child, loved to smell the fresh earth after spring showers, loved the cozy days spent inside reading with a warm cup of cocoa as thunderstorms roared outside. As a child, I loved to fall asleep to the sound of rain. I remember those nights fondly, the sound of rain hitting the window pane in my childhood bedroom in a constant, steady pattern. I used to think the rain was watching over me, keeping me safe from my nightmares. I still loved falling asleep to the sound of rain, and always had trouble getting out of bed on a rainy morning. Usually I would listen for a few moments, and let the calming pitter-patter of droplets carry me back to dreamland. I stayed still for a moment, eyes closed, trying to enjoy the sound of the rain. But I was uncomfortable. The rain sounded the same, but my whole body was tense. I looked around my bedroom in the dark for any sign that something was off. My eyes took a few minutes to adjust, but nothing seemed out of place. Despite knowing that I was alone in the room, I stayed completely still. It felt like someone was watching me. I held my breath, frozen in fear. I'm not sure how much time passed, the rain still steadily beating at my window. Eventually, I decided I need to get up, to look around, to do something. I did a slow circle of my bedroom. Even though I felt a bit childish, I checked under the bed and in the closet just to be safe. I opened my bedroom door, but the house was quiet and nothing seemed out of place. The rain kept on its steady beat. Finally, having checked everything else, I decided to look outside. Slowly, I crept over to the window. The raindrops sounded slightly louder the closer I got, until soon their thundering was almost more than I could bear. In one swift motion, I pulled open the blinds. There was nothing there. I stood by the clear glass and let go of a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The uncomfortable feeling was gone. I was just being silly. It was then that I noticed the total, all-encompassing silence. It wasn't raining anymore. The silence was deafening. I looked out the window again, this time looking towards the street to check for puddles, but the ground didn't appear to be wet. Now that I was looking for it, I realized the window wasn't wet either. Not so much as a stray droplet. I tried to brush it off, Maybe it had just been a flash storm, and I had only been lying in the dark, listening to the rain for a few minutes. It was a hot summer night. A quick storm might not have left any evidence. Still, I went back to bed uneasy and slept restlessly through the night. The next morning, I had forgotten all about the rain and hurried to work. We had this huge deadline coming up, and my entire team was stressed. My boss was grilling me for updates constantly, and the entire day was a nightmare. I stayed late to try and catch up. When I finally got home, I passed out instantly. That night, I slept deeply and undisturbed. When I woke up that morning, despite a full 8 hours of sleep, I felt even more tired than before. I bounced from meeting to meeting until late in the afternoon, skipping lunch. I stayed at my desk, desperately trying to get work done long after the rest of my coworkers had left. The last time I remembered, it was 10 p.m., and I was editing our proposal one last time. And then suddenly, the clock read 1 a.m. It was eerie in the office this late at night. It was dark, only the hallway lights and the light of my computer monitor providing visibility. I felt panicky, as if something had startled me awake. For a second, I thought I heard a faint tapping at the office window, almost like the tree branch that used to hit my window as a kid, lightly tapping in a summer breeze. But when I turned towards the window, nothing was there. I laughed a little to myself out loud. Of course nothing was there. This was the 6th floor downtown. There weren't any trees. I must have fallen asleep at my desk and just snored myself awake. I packed up my stuff and headed home. The rest of the week passed uneventfully. Work, to bed, to work again. It was beginning to feel like a never-ending cycle. Occasionally, I would hear the soft tap of rain against the window, whether it be at work, in my car, or at home. But it was always just for a moment and easily explained. A tree branch, a leaf hitting the windshield, a coworker typing away. By the time Friday rolled around, I was more than excited to start my weekend and relax a little. I stayed up late on Friday night, watching a movie and having a few drinks with my roommate, and then headed to bed around 12 a.m. And that is part 1. I would love to know your comments, both about the story itself as well as my delivery. Look for part 2 and part 3 coming up fairly soon. I'm very curious to see where this story goes, and I hope you enjoy it. As always, thank you for checking out the channel. Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.